Hello and welcome to another episode of Hesse and Maven. I am Justin.
I'm Raven, and this is probably my fifth glass of wine.
Oh, fantastic. This is my third, fourth beer, maybe.
We're having a good night.
We're having a great night.
Yeah.
And on this week's episode, thanks for asking, we're going to talk a little bit about mythology.
Yeah, I requested this topic because I think that it's so interesting that different cultures and different religions have different stories of how things came to be.
There's all different kinds of stuff. Like
all different mythologies.
A small example, it's not something that I covered.
Okay.
Would be, I believe it's Perseus. Mm-hmm. Like the son of Zeus or something like that. Like he killed a Medusa, chopped his head off, and then was carrying its head and was flying or whatever over, I think, Africa.
Okay.
And that's supposed to explain, like, the blood dropped over Africa. And that explains why Africa has so many snakes or something like that.
I thought you were going to say the snakes fell off of her head and that's why Africa has so many snakes.
It has, as do, I think, the blood dripping out of her fucking decapitated head or whatever.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. I think stories like that from different parts of the world are fascinating.
Very, very interesting. And that's what we're going to cover. But I think you have a little bit of housekeeping things you wanted to bring up again.
I do. I have one thing. Mm-hmm. And it's a surprise for you. Your birthday's coming up.
It is coming up.
It is. You're a Halloween child.
Yes.
Explains a lot. But I did get you a present that I wanted to save for the podcast.
You're giving it to me now? It's still September. It's September 21st.
I'm giving it to you now.
It's a month and 10 days.
I'm giving it to you now.
Okay.
I thought it'd be fun to do for the people.
It is. It's pretty fun. I'm excited.
Are you ready? I'm going to show it to you on the screen.
Oh, you did. Wait.
I ordered it. It has to come.
Oh, okay.
I'm showing it to you now.
Okay, cool.
Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready. Amazing! Did you get us tickets to Comic-Con in New York?
I got us 2 tickets to New York Comic-Con.
Hell yeah!
On the day that Critical Role is going to be there.
Oh my goodness.
How fun!
So exciting, dude.
Yes, now we're going to go.
Should we dress up?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
We're going to go and we're going to see Critical Role talk with their panel.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my god, I'm so excited.
How fun!
Yes.
Happy birthday.
Thank you so much. That is such a good gift. I'm so excited. Oh my god.
How fun. Can't wait. Catch us at New York City Comic Con.
On that particular day.
October 6th.
Early October.
Mark your calendars.
Wow. I'm so excited. Sick. Jesus.
That's my only housekeeping item.
Wow. That
birthday
was
gifts
worth
for days.
That was good. Oh boy. Okay. Well, let's get into some myths and mythology.
If you hear me chewing, I'm so sorry. I needed to eat a Frito.
Frito? Yeah, Raven's eating Fritos. So
sorry.
if you're like super not into chewing noises,
don't listen to me.
Fucking deal with it. Yeah, dude, just turn off Raven's mic. Oh wait, you can't. Cool. Anyway. Do you want to start?
Sure, I have a baby one.
Yeah, go for it.
I have 3 ones that are kind of stories that'll take me a minute to tell. And then I found one that's like a little baby one. It's like 2 sentences, but I thought it was so interesting I wrote it down. Okay.
Do your baby one first, and then I'll do my like sort of baby one.
Okay, so my baby one is from South Africa.
Fun.
The Malawi people. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that is accurate.
Oh, I'm going to be mispronouncing things so much.
Malawi is a country. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. In southeastern Africa. So when I said South Africa, I don't mean the country. I mean like the southern part of Africa. Okay.
Distinction.
So this is, I'm not going to pronounce anything right, but this is something I found. It says, I was looking up mythology in regards to the stars. Mm-hmm. And this one I thought was interesting. In Malawi, the morning star is named Chechachani.
Okay.
Chechicani. Chechachani. A port who is a poor housekeeper who allows her husband, the moon, to go hungry and starve.
Oh.
Puikani, the evening star, is a fine wife who feeds the moon, thus bringing him back to life.
Wow.
Yeah, so the morning star starves him, which is why he's gone.
Oh.
And the evening star feeds him and brings him back.
Interesting.
Right?
He's got 2 wives, and one is good and one is not good.
I guess.
That's interesting.
Which I thought was interesting. I love stories like that. I'm like,
That
why
is
the moon comes and goes. And
yeah, why you can't see the moon during the day.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, like, I feel like you technically can. Like, the moon is still there. It's just...
There are days where you can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Excuse me.
Very cool.
Yeah, I thought that was cute. That's my baby one.
So, full disclosure, not all of mine, like, explain some sort of natural phenomenon.
No, mine either. Mine either.
The one that I'm going to do next is one that is quite popular. Okay. Everyone has heard of this person, this mythological person. It's just one of my favorite stories. I don't know why. I think I just like the name of it.
Is it Thor?
It's not Thor.
Okay, great. Continue. I don't care to hear about him. Sorry if you're a Thor fan.
No, it's fine. It is why we have Thursday, though. Almost all
about Thursdays.
It's kind of interesting, though. All of the days of the week, this is not my thing, but all of the days of the week, with the exception of Saturn and Saturday, are named after Norse mythology. Like Wednesday, Odin is sometimes referred to as Woden. Mm-hmm. Wednesday, so on and so forth. They're all named after them. I had a list somewhere that showed it all, but anyway, I'm gonna bring up Icarus,
who flew too close to the sun.
Flew too close to the sun. No spoilers, Riven.
Sorry.
But the reason I wanted to bring it up is because there's an interesting other part of it. So he's the son of a master craftsman known as Daedalus. Okay. Daedalus was the creator of the labyrinth.
Sorry, this is Greek mythology?
Yes.
Okay.
Icarus and Daedalus attempt to escape from Crete by the means of some wings that Daedalus creates using wax and feathers. Now, everyone has heard of the idea of don't fly too close to the sun. Mm-hmm. This warning of hubris.
Yeah. Don't get too confident.
Don't get too cocky. Mm-hmm. But he also warns him of complacency. Mm-hmm. Don't get too complacent. Instructing him to fly neither too low nor too high. Mm-hmm. Because the sea's dampness will clog the wings. And the sun's heat will melt them. Mm-hmm. So there's actually another part of it that most people forget. That he wasn't just don't fly too close to the sun. It's also don't fly too low.
Yeah,
either.
No one ever says that part.
No one ever says that part, and that's the only real reason I wanted to bring it up.
Okay.
Of course, Icarus ignores his father's instructions. He does fly too close to the sun. The wax does melt, and he falls out of the sky, plunges into the sea, and drowns.
Rip.
But that's Icarus.
That's it.
And I just like that story. I don't know why. Okay. I think it's just because I like the name Icarus.
Okay.
I have a D&D character named Dr. Icarus, or rather, that's the fake name that he uses. His real name is Parnassus because of...
The Imaginarium of Dr.
Parnassus. Yeah, 100%.
It's a good movie. I highly recommend.
It's a great movie. It's the last movie that Heath Ledger did.
Oh, really?
Isn't it?
I don't know.
Anyway, what's your next one?
The Morrigan.
Oh, I heard that one. I came across it.
Okay.
On some lists, but I didn't read it. I just thought that sounds like a D&D god about like dwarves and like craftsmanship, but I don't think it's related.
Okay, so the Morrigan is from Irish mythology.
Interesting. It is the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus is the last movie that
Heath Ledger was in. Yeah. Sad. Rest
Rip.
in peace.
Rip.
Okay, so I couldn't find a lot of like reputable sources when I was looking up stories of the Morrigan. A lot of them are from, like, Ireland.com or, like, IrishMythology.net or, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
But this is what I found that I thought was the most interesting take. The name Morrigan means Phantom Queen.
I love that.
Which I think is awesome. She's a goddess from Old Ireland that was associated with war, destiny, fate, and death. She was a shapeshifter, and she frequently appeared as a crow, and was seen as an ominous sign if you saw her before a battle. Which I thought is so cool.
There's a lot of interesting things like that, like, excuse me, omens.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
and I will say Irish or Gaelic is an incredibly hard to pronounce language, so sorry for butchering these names.
So hard. I named it a random, like, throwaway character.
Yeah.
And I was using Gaelic because it just felt, that language felt right for, like, the type of people that I was picking. Mm-hmm. So I went to Google Trans. Often I will name characters using Google Translate, and I'll just name them something in another language.
Yeah.
So I named this one person, like, I can't remember what it was. It was like something like timid or meek. Mm-hmm. And I just typed that into Google Translate and translated it to Gaelic.
Okay.
And I used it. And every time that character has ever come up, I've been like, I regret this. Like, I have to, like, sit there and be like, how did I pronounce this the first time I used this character? Like, oh no.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So the most famous stories of the Morrigan always center around a battle that she was in against a man named, it's spelled Cuchulainn. Cuchulainn.
Yeah. Cuchulainn.
It's probably pronounced nothing like that,
no,
but
probably not.
Cuchulainn is probably what I'm going to call him.
Yeah, hit us up with your Gaelic.
Their battle raged for months and cost countless lives. Cuchulainn just, like, was defeating warrior after warrior. Like, he was really powerful. And at a point where it was like he was winning everything, the Morrigan was like, I'm going to try to seduce him. I'm going to offer myself to him because she's, like, beautiful. She's like this goddess.
Phantom goddess, yeah.
Exactly. And then he refused her, despite her being, like, super beautiful. So she became outraged.
Of course.
And according to the story, she transformed into an eel and tripped him while he was crossing a fjord.
Okay.
He recovered. And he lashed out at the eel and broke its ribs.
Oh.
After that, she survived, though. After that, she transformed into a wolf, scaring cattle and driving them towards him to try to, like, stampede him.
Yeah, Lion King style.
He responded with a slingshot. He slingshotted at the wolf and blinded her in one eye.
Wow.
Yeah. She transformed again. This time she changed into a heifer.
Love it.
Which I had to look up.
It's a cow.
A cow.
Yeah.
Leading a stampede.
Another stampede.
Towards him.
Yeah.
Stampede 2.
Stampede number 2.
Once again, it says her evil ambition was thwarted.
Oh, boy.
He fired another slingshot, breaking her leg, forcing her to retreat.
Dude, slingshots are something else.
I know.
You know, you really underestimate a slingshot. I mean, even even Christianity, go to David and Goliath. That's a slingshot, baby.
Oh, really?
I mean, it's not a slingshot, it's a sling, but still, like, slings are huge.
Yeah.
Wow.
Apparently. Okay, so she had to retreat. And then it says she would never forget that.
Oh, man. I just had weird deja vu, but...
So then...
Matrix.
So then he had victory in the battle. He won. And after his victory, he was traveling from the battle site when he encountered an old woman milking a cow.
Oh, boy.
The haggard woman was blind in one eye, had damaged ribs, and a broken leg, but he didn't recognize her.
What an idiot.
I know.
Cuchulainn. What's his name?
Cuchulainn is what it looks like. Oh, yeah. I don't know. It says she tricked him by giving him 3 sips of milk. He blessed her on every occasion, and when each of these sips of milk had been taken, the wounds inflicted on the Morrigan were healed because he blessed her with each sip.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dang, that's some gangster shit. To be like, I'm not even gonna heal myself. I'm gonna trick you into healing me. Mm-hmm. That's some gang. Okay, continue.
Yep.
Continue.
The Morrigan then appeared before him shortly before his death.
Oh.
On his way to yet another battle, he met a woman washing bloody armor, which was a sure and terrible portent of impending doom. So I guess a sign of impending doom.
Another omen, yeah.
Another omen. And then it says, sure enough, Cuchulainn was finally conquered. So it doesn't say how they fought, which is, like, upsetting. Like, I wish I would have seen, like, she fucking killed him with a punch to the throat. But,
we love a throat punch.
I know. It doesn't say that. It just says that he was conquered. It says, despite being mortally wounded, he tied himself to a boulder with his own innards in the hope that his upright appearance would continue to terrify his enemies.
Okay.
That's
also pretty gangster. That's pretty fucking G right there, dog. Damn.
It is only when a black crow finally landed on his shoulder that his death was finally revealed.
Yeah, well, that'll do it.
So she landed on his shoulder and was like, you're fucking done.
You're fucking dead, dog.
You're done. And then the end of this just says that she appears in a bunch of other stories in Irish mythology.
And it's the Morrigan?
The Morrigan is what she's called.
Wow.
But it says in... she's
I'm
also
not used to a deity be called the blank.
The something.
Wow.
In other stories, she's referred to as just Morrigan or Morrigu.
Referred
to
as Morgu. Is that what you said? Morgu.
She's referred to as Morrigan or Morrigu.
Morrigu. Yeah, let's stick with the first one.
The Morrigan,
Dang.
I think, is the best one
for sure.
But I love her. I think she's so cool.
Yeah,
she's like
Phantom Goddess.
She's the Phantom Queen. She's
Phantom
a
Queen.
goddess associated with war. Like, you see her and you know you're about to get fucked up. Like, wow, I love that. I feel like she's so badass.
That's very cool.
So that was my first story that I love.
Okay.
Yeah, I love her.
All right. So my first story is actually about a very interesting thing. This is from West Africa.
Okay.
Okay, I need
a volunteer from the audience?
No, I wish. My laptop's about to die. Can you...
I'll eat a Frito for the audience while we wait.
Nice and crunchy. All right, cool. So mine comes from West Africa.
Okay.
It follows a trickster god known as Anansi, the spider.
Oh.
This giant spider god being, deity, whatever. I don't even know if it actually is a god. It never mentions that it's a god. Mm-hmm. I think it's just a powerful being. Anyway, it takes the shape of a spider. Folktales of the Ashanti of West Africa. It takes the shape of a spider who goes to the sky god to buy his stories to share with the world.
Okay.
So it's very much about storytelling, and I think that's why I find it so fascinating.
Okay, so the spider goes to the sky god to buy his stories.
I'll tell you everything, the whole story.
Okay.
So don't interrupt me.
Sorry.
But the idea that, there was one point where there were no stories in the world. Anansi the spider once went to Nyankopan. And again, lots of mispronunciations. Please bear with us, and I apologize for any insensitivity that may come across in that way. But I'm really trying. Goes to the sky god in order to buy the sky god's stories. The sky god said, "What makes you think you can buy them?" The spider answered, "I know I shall be able to." Thereupon the sky god said, "Great and powerful towns like Kokofu, Bikwe, Asumenge have come and they were unable to purchase them, and yet you think you who are but a masterless man, you say you will be able? The spider said, what is the price of the stories? The sky god said, they cannot be bought for anything except Onini the python, Osibo the leopard, Momotia the fairy, and Momoboro the hornet. The spider said, I will bring all of these. The sky god said, go and bring them then. So Anansi sets out to capture all of these beings. First, he goes to where the python lived and debated out loud whether python are really longer than a palm branch or not, as his wife Aso says. The python overheard this, and when Anansi explained the debate, the python agreed to lie along the palm branch. Because he cannot easily make himself completely straight, a true impression of his actual length is difficult for him to obtain, so the python agreed to be tied to the branch. When he was completely tied up, Anansi took him to the sky god. To catch the leopard, Anansi dug a deep hole in the ground, and when the leopard fell in the hole, Anansi offered to help him out with his webs. But once the leopard was out of the hole, he was bound in the webs and was carried away to the sky god. To catch the hornets, Anansi filled a calabash, which, I'm going to be honest, I don't fucking know what that is. I think it's a ditch, with water and poured some over a banana leaf he held over his head and some over the nest, calling out that it was raining. He suggested that the hornets get into the empty calabash, and when they obliged, he quickly sealed the opening. Brought it to the sky god. To catch the fairy, he made a doll, and he covered it with sticky gum. He placed the doll under the odum, the tree of life, where the fairies like to play. He put some yam in a bowl in front of it, and when the fairy came and he ate, or I should say they, when the fairy came and ate the yam, it says she thanked the doll, which of course did not reply, because it's just a doll. The fairy was annoyed at the bad manners, so she struck it with one hand, and then struck it with another, and then was stuck, and Anansi captured her. Oop. Anansi handed his captives over to Nyan, the sky god, who then said, Anansi, from today and going on forever, I present my sky god stories to you. Kose, 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 my blessing, my blessing, my blessing. No more shall we call them the sky god stories, but we shall call them the spider stories. And I just think that's a really interesting story. Like, there's just this idea that, like,
cleverness can win.
Like, you know, yeah, we talked about, I mean, a lot of these myths and stuff are like how the world began, why there are stars, why you can't see the moon during the day, and all this stuff. Why there are stories.
That's interesting.
That's interesting. I think that's so fucking cool, which is why I needed to bring up Anansi, the spider.
I like that.
Which is a popular folklore kind of mythological story from the Ashanti tribe, I guess. I don't know. It says Ashanti of Ghana.
Okay.
AKA West Africa.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
And same as you, half the stuff I'm going off of are just like websites. Like, who knows?
Yeah,
really?
it's not like
so just like bear with us and, you know, grain of salt and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that was one that I had already heard of that in my lifetime somewhere. I had heard of this idea of a spider who has something to do with storytelling.
Oh, I've never heard that.
And I love just the whole concept of storytelling is so interesting to me. Oral traditions, you know, how things pass from generation to generation. I love storytelling. Like, I love telling stories and stuff like that.
I wonder if, because I've heard people I've heard people reference, like, people who tell big stories is like, they'll say, like, oh, like, he was sitting there, like, weaving this web of, like, this, like, massive story. I've heard that phrase.
Maybe, I don't know.
It's interesting.
It's very interesting. I think it's so cool.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
A calabash, by the way, is a gourd. It's like a squash.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. There you go. All right. You're up, baby.
Okay. The next one I did is from the Pacific Northwest.
Okay.
It's a Northwest
That's interesting.
Coast Native American myth. about...
Yeah, we love indigenous people. BIPOC.
The Raven.
Oh. The Raven.
So it starts off with a quote from Christian White, who is a Haida artist. Haida.
Okay.
I don't know what that is. His quote is, Raven was not thought of as a god. He was thought of as the transformer, the trickster. He was the being that changed things. Sometimes quite by accident, sometimes on purpose.
The Haida people are an indigenous group who have traditionally occupied Haida Gwaii, an archipelago just off the British Columbia, Canada, for at least 12,500 years. And if you look at a map,
wow,
like here's Washington and Oregon, Pacific Northwest, then like obviously Canada cuts off at the top of Washington. It's like
right above that.
Right off that. It's an archipelago, so it's a group of islands, but it's like right there.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
But it's technically like, quote unquote, damn it, I said it again, Canadian. In terms of geography, not in terms of anything else. But in terms of geography, it would be considered a Canadian thing. Okay.
So I got this. I'm pretty much going to read this almost word for word. It's an article from the American Museum of Natural History's website.
That's a good source.
It's part of their Totems to Turquoise exhibition.
What does that mean?
I think it's just...
We got to go to more museums, dude.
I know.
Yeah, and you know what I hate, though? Museums.
Museum.
I hate museums. I love museums, because that's how it's said.
Okay. Okay, so this is what it says. In northern Northwest Coast mythology, Raven is the powerful figure who transforms the world. Stories tell how Raven created the land, released the people from a cockle shell, and brought them fire. Raven stole the light and brought it out to light up the world. Yet, Raven is a trickster, often selfish, hungry, and mischievous. He changes the world only by cleverly deceiving others in his never-ending quest for food. Which, if I'm being honest, never-ending quest for food?
Bingo.
Bingo bango. Pretty on the nose.
Bingo bango.
Okay. Boop, 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 boop. Okay. This excerpt is from a Raven story published by Haida artist Bill Reed in 1984.
Okay.
It's titled How Raven Brought Light to the World. Okay. Ready?
Ready.
This is all in quotes. So this is, I imagine, directly from what Bill Reed wrote. Okay. At that time, the whole world was dark. Inky, pitchy, all-consuming dark, blacker than 1,000 stormy winter midnights, blacker than anything anywhere has been since. The reason for all this blackness has to do with the old man in the house by the river who had a box, which contained a box, which contained a box, which contained an infinite number of boxes, each nestled in a box slightly larger than itself, until finally there was a box so small, all it could contain was all the light in the universe. So...
fascinating.
Wild, right off the bat.
Yeah. So old man by the river. He's got a box inside of a box, so on and so forth, until eventually the box is so small, it contains all the light in the universe.
Which feels like it shouldn't be that small, but...
I mean, the Big Bang was just a little tiny guy. And then Big Bang, whatever. How's that wine? How's Oblivion?
Well, it hit me like a ton of bricks.
May I try it?
Yes.
Oh, just fucking straight up, dog. What's up? I wasn't expecting this.
Sorry.
No, it's
cool, have given you my glass. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, that tastes like a Merlot. Is it a Merlot? Or is it a red blend?
It is a Cabernet Sauvignon.
That's what I said.
From
you misheard me.
Paso Robles.
Oh, where's that?
California.
Oh, fuck.
I just want to say the back of this Oblivion bottle of wine says, release yourself into the unconscious. So.
Yeah, that's some heady shit right there.
I'm headed that way.
That's some heady shit.
Anyway. Okay. So, the old man has the box with a million boxes in between that holds the light.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Excuse me. Okay. In the story, the old man hides the light because he's afraid to see. You cannot guess where this story is going, why he's hiding the light. Because I read this and was like, what?
He's hiding the light?
He's hiding the light.
Well, he's got to keep it away from the raven.
No.
Okay, bring it on.
The old man hides the light because he's afraid to see whether or not his daughter is ugly.
You're right. I didn't see that coming. But honestly, that shit is real, dog. No, I'm kidding. That's wild.
Oh
That's
my god.
so funny.
Yeah, I know. I didn't expect anything like that.
He's like, you know what? If I can't see if she's ugly, then she's not ugly. Wow.
So the world cannot have lights.
What the fuck? That is so interesting.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I know.
It's cool. I got some weird shit coming up too.
Yeah.
It's totally fine. But yeah,
okay.
Bring it on. Come on.
Okay, so he's hiding the light because he's afraid to see whether or not his daughter is ugly.
Jesus Christ.
In a ploy to steal the light, Raven shrinks himself to become a hemlock needle in a basket of drinking water so that the daughter swallows him. Okay?
Jesus.
The daughter swallows the raven because he disguised himself as a hemlock needle.
Okay.
Soon, Raven is reborn from the daughter as a raven/human child.
The daughter is reborn?
The raven is reborn.
As a raven/human?
Yes.
A raven person. A were-raven.
Yes.
Fuck yeah.
Okay. The old man accepts him as a grandson. Okay. I know I need you to listen. This is going to be hard to follow. You're not listening and you're not going to follow.
Okay. I'm
not listening.
back in.
You're back in?
I'm back in.
Okay. The old man accepts the raven/human
as his grandson.
As a grandson.
Yeah. The grandson messed me up because I was still thinking about the daughter.
I know.
The potentially ugly daughter.
Yeah. And soon Raven begins begging
Wow.
that he open the boxes one after another, each time pleading and crying until the old man yields. Stop laughing. This is a serious story.
You said begging.
I know, I didn't mean to. It's because right underneath begging it says pleading, so my brain confused them. So he begs the old man to open the boxes, crying and yelling until the old man does it.
Yes.
When the old man finally opens the box that contains the light,
yeah,
Raven
that had to take forever. It was infinite boxes.
I know.
Wow.
Raven grabs it and flies out of the house, causing light to spread throughout the world and revealing that the old man's daughter is as beautiful as the fronds of a hemlock tree.
Thank God.
I don't know if a hemlock tree is beautiful.
Well, if it were an ugly tree, it would say as ugly as the ferns
fair.
of a hemlock tree. Hold on. I'm looking up hemlock tree. Oh, wow. That's something. That is something. I'll tell you what. It looks like a Christmas tree.
Oh, well, there you go.
It looks like a fucking Christmas tree. 100%.
This wine tastes like a wheat bagel.
A wheat bagel?
Or like very strong Jewish rye bread.
Oh, I love Jewish rye bread.
That's what this wine tastes like.
I love the only Jewish food that and again, no disrespect, that I will never try is gefilte fish.
Fair.
Because of the name.
Yeah.
It has a lot to do with the name.
Fair. Okay. So she's as beautiful as the fronds of a hemlock tree. As Raven flies away, Eagle sees him and tries to steal the light, causing Raven to drop some of it, which becomes the moon and the stars.
What does she eat?
Who?
Someone eats something. That's what you said. You said they eat it, and some of it turns into the moon and the stars.
No, I said, as Raven...
What am I doing?
As Raven flies away, you're not listening to me. As Raven flies away, Eagle sees him.
Eagle? Who's Eagle?
Eagle. The eagle.
Okay.
Eagle sees him.
Yeah.
and tries to steal the light.
Oh.
Steal it.
Steal, eat, similar.
Okay. Causing Raven to drop some of it, which becomes the moon and the stars.
And the moon and the stars, yes, of course.
Yes.
Obviously.
And that's the story.
Very interesting. So that story explains why the moon and the stars exist.
And how the earth has light.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Yeah. It gives a lot of responsibility to the Raven, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, very cool. I like the Raven being a little trickster, a little mischievous.
I've heard a lot. I see a lot of things about how the Raven is a trickster.
Yeah, well, crows and ravens are notoriously, except in Norse mythology, though, the ravens with Odin.
Yeah, wisdom and memory.
Wisdom and memory. Anyway. Is it cool if I bang out two real quick?
Please.
One is so small.
I will listen for both of them.
I appreciate you, dog. Hey. I just gave her a little surf's up. Anyway, I went to a planetarium one time, and they explained to us. So you're familiar with the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper? Are you familiar that their more official names are Ursa Major and Ursa Minor?
Yes.
Excuse me. And you're familiar that Ursa is like bear. It's Big Bear and Little Bear.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But use your mind's eye, and this goes to the audience as well, listeners. Use your mind's eye and think of what the Little Dipper and the Big Dipper look like.
Like a square with a tail?
Like a square, but like a short tail, like a bear? No. A long tail. Why is that? That doesn't make any sense. Bears don't have long tails. Well, I went to a planetarium one time that said, and I don't know what culture this comes from or whatever, but the planetarium guy who was running the show told us this story, that back in the day, there was these bears, and they were fishing, and they watched this fox, this sly fox, little trickster, kind of like the raven, and the fox was using its tail as a fishing line, dipping it into the water, catching a fish would bite at the tail, and it would pull its tail out. And the bears were like, oh, pretty cool. We'll do that also. But then winter started coming, and the fox was like, nah, it's totally cool. Keep doing it. So the bears dipped their tails, their long ass tails, into the river, but then winter came and it froze over. And the bears had to, in order to survive, like rip their tails out. And now they have short tails, and that's why bears have short tails. But yet, the constellations, Big Bear and Little Bear, Ursa Major, Ursa Minor, Big Dipper, Little Dipper, have that long thing.
Interesting.
Pretty interesting, right? But anyway, I just thought of that.
Yeah.
But okay. Here we go. All right. This is from Norse mythology. So this is like, Vikings, Norway, probably Finland, Sweden, whatever. In the beginning, there were only two realms. Why sad face?
There's no ice in this wine.
Oh, so it's room temp.
Oh.
No, I'm sorry for you.
It's okay.
There are only two realms.
Okay.
Niflheim,
okay,
the realm of mist and ice, and Muspelheim, the realm of fire.
Ugh.
Is it weird that because this is like a... Ooh, I was about to say my catchphrase. Because this is a quote-unquote white culture, I'm totally fine with putting on a little bit of an accent and saying these words. Whereas, like, the last one I did an African one, and I was like, I don't feel comfortable doing a voice or, like, trying to say these words in, like, a kind of funny way.
Maybe.
Is that interesting?
Huh?
Anyway. Muspelheim, the realm of fire. Between these was Gunugagap, or the void. Where the heat and cold from these two realms met, steam was created, which collected in Gunugagap and eventually created Ymir, the first Jotun, and Audhumla, the first cow. Since these were the first two beings in existence, life must have been a little boring for them. Ymir would pass the time by drinking Audhumla's milk, and Audhumla would lick a salt block, which eventually took the form of Buri, the first of the Aesir. Buri had a son named Bor, which in turn had three sons, Odin, Vili, and Ve. These three brothers then killed Ymir and used his body to create the universe. The Norse universe consists of 9 worlds. These worlds are only referenced a few times throughout the myths and are not specified, but are thought to be, in no particular order, Asgard, Vanaheim, Jotunheim, Niflheim, Muspelheim, Alfheim, Svartalfheim, Nidavellir, and Midgard, which is our world.
Isn't Norse mythology Valhalla?
Valhalla is the afterlife.
Oh, I thought that was going to be one of the realms or whatever.
No, dog. This is pre-afterlife.
Continue.
Just life. These worlds are connected by a giant ash tree named Yggdrasil, which runs through the center of the universe. There's an eagle that lives at the top of Yggdrasil, while the dragon Nidhogg lives at the bottom and chews on the roots. And it gets better because there's a squirrel, Ratatosk, that runs up and down Yggdrasil's trunk carrying messages between the two creatures, the eagle at the top and the dragon at the bottom.
Okay.
They're not particularly nice messages either. I'm reading this word for word for the record.
Fine by me.
I'm on lifeinnorway.net, so
perfect.
Take it for what you will. In addition to holding everything together, Yggdrasil is also a source of wisdom and is where the Aesir often gather for meetings. At the foot of the tree is Urd's Well, which is associated with the 3 Norns or fates. Under another root is Mimir's Well, which is where Odin gave up his eye as payment for a drink in order to gain the well's knowledge. It is also thought that Yggdrasil is the tree that Odin hung himself on, again in the pursuit of knowledge. Yeah, I thought that was just fucking bananas. I thought that was really interesting. Because as far as I've ever read or really heard about, Norse mythology is the only one where there are multiple realms.
Yeah.
And I find that to be absolutely fucking fascinating.
It is. It's 100% fascinating.
I think that is so interesting.
Yeah, I'm really fascinated by Odin too. I have a big tattoo of him on the back of my leg with his ravens. I think their names are Hugin and Munin, which is thought and memory. I think I referred to them as something different earlier, which tracks.
Yeah. And we're back. All right, fantastic. Just had a little bathroom break and a sponsor break. Fantastic.
And a Fritos break.
Just remember that
sponsored by Fritos.
Sponsored by Fritos. And you could put your sponsor right here and we'll do a little commercial shout out for you.
And Jewish rye bread.
Jewish rye bread, matzo balls, pastrami, corned beef, fucking brisket, baby.
Matzo balls.
Matzo balls. Okay, cool. And we're back. Sick, dude. That's going to be so fun for the listeners because, like, we broke and then we came back and just fucking matzo balled all over the place.
What if we added a sound to that noise so that listeners could know what we were doing?
Dude, I'm the one editing, so I'm going to have to, right now, that's a hard no. I'm not going to add a sound effect.
No. We made a sound. Like, every time I did that, I would go...
And that means that we're doing the Surf's Up sign?
Yeah.
All right, fine. From now on, on the pod, we will do that.
Okay.
So if you ever hear that sound, just know that we're doing a little Surf's Up. Goodness gracious. Okay, cool. So anyway, that's the creation of the universe via Norse mythology.
I do love Norse mythology.
I do love it so much. I love that the first two beings was Ymir, which is the first Jotun, which Jotun, J-O with the umlauts, T-U-N. They're very interesting because they're related to these gods, but they're also related to giants. Mm-hmm. Not every Jotun is a god. And I'm saying Jotun, but it could be Jotun, right, which is what I imagine it is Jotun.
Fine,
but
we're
anyway,
not naturally going to have the correct pronunciation.
Yeah, but then the second creature in existence is Audhumla, the first cow.
That is interesting.
I think that's fascinating.
I wonder if they place very high value on cows and cattle in Norway, like similar to how they do in India.
I don't think not as high, but I think it had to do with more of a, because this feels mean. I think it's more of an explanation of like, okay, but how did those early creatures exist? How did they survive? And it's like, well, if there was a cow, then they could drink the milk.
Fair.
Or maybe it is a representation of maternity.
Okay.
Because of milk? Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Well, fair guesses.
But anyway, that's my next one.
I love it.
It is your turn, my friend.
Okay.
My enemy. My sister.
Okay. This is the last one that I have.
I got 1,000 more.
Okay, great.
I have so many more.
This is my favorite myth of all time.
Oh, I'm so excited.
However, the way that I think, like, I know that it's a myth. I get that. But
okay. I
think the way that it actually happened is not the way that I choose to remember it.
Okay.
Okay? Which sounds crazy, but you'll get it in a minute.
Okay, bring it on. Come on. Okay.
This is the myth of
come on.
Hades and Persephone.
Oh.
Okay.
Low-key, I knew you were going to fucking pick these two.
This is one of my favorite stories of all time.
I know that it is.
I love them so much. The story of how it really happened.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
It's one of the most well-known Greek myths. Hades was
it's up there.
The brother of Zeus and the god of the underworld. Persephone was the daughter of Demeter, the goddess of nature. And what happened was Hades fell in love with Persephone, and he was like, I have to have her as my wife. Like, she has to be my wife. So according to most versions, when you look it up, it was like he decided he had to kidnap her. The myth says that in one of the rare times he left the underworld, he traveled above ground to pursue her while she was gathering flowers in a field. Mm-hmm. Hades confided his need for Persephone to his brother Zeus, asking for help. So the two concocted a plan to trap her. As Persephone played with her companions, they caused the ground to split underneath her. Persephone slipped beneath the earth, and Hades stole her to the underworld, where he made her his wife. The myth says that Persephone was very unhappy, but after much time, she came to love Hades and live happily with him. There are different versions of this myth. There's a million different versions.
Yeah.
There's one where Demeter was actually present when Persephone was kidnapped, but was tricked by Zeus and Hades. That morning, when Demeter descended on Earth with her daughter Persephone, she left her to play with sea nymphs, who it says they were called Nereids. Nereids. And naiads, who were freshwater nymphs of lakes, springs, and rivers.
Okay.
Demeter went to supervise her crops. As Persephone engaged in play with the nymphs, her attention fell upon the potently fragrant valley nearby, and she couldn't take her eyes off the yellow flower called Narcissus.
Ooh.
She called upon her playmates to accompany her, but they couldn't go with her, as leaving the side of the water could result in their death. So Persephone went to see the yellow flower Narcissus alone. And then it says Narcissus was planted there by Gaia, who was following the orders of Zeus. The goal was to enchant Persephone and attract her away from the nymphs.
Mm-hmm.
So Persephone went to pluck the yellow flower, Narcissus. It drained her energy, as Narcissus only came out after a lot of pulling. But suddenly she saw the tiny hole which she had drawn out the flower shaft. It began to rapidly grow until it resembled a mighty chasm. From this came the vigorous galloping sounds of multiple horses, and such sudden happenings only froze Persephone in place. She was like frozen.
Can I really quickly?
Please.
So the flower named Narcissus is a reference to the myth of Narcissus.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Are you familiar?
Yeah. Who, like, looked in the water and...
He was born from a sea nymph
face.
and somebody else, and was told by a blind seer he will live a very long life as long as he never sees it, as long as he never bears upon himself. He never sees himself. And then, unfortunately, he was actually rejected by somebody. I already closed out of the tab, otherwise I would give you more specifics.
Okay.
But he already... he was rejected by somebody and then saw his own reflection.
Yeah.
Fell in love with himself, whatever. And the flowers bear his namesake where he died.
Sad.
Yeah.
Sad.
And that's where the word narcissism supposedly comes from.
Yeah,
I say
that I've
supposedly
heard.
because I have no fucking clue. I just
Right.
obviously Narcissus and narcissism.
Right.
Clearly they're related.
Yeah,
I
100%.
assume it's from ancient Greek, but who the fuck knows?
So, Persephone goes to see this flower, and then a giant chasm opens.
Yep.
And then she hears galloping horses, because she's going to get taken. Out of all of her sea nymph friends, only the naiad named Cyane, Cyane,
Okay.
excuse me, tried to rescue her, but she was no match for Hades. Bereaving her friend's kidnapping, Cyane melted into a pool of tears and formed the river Cyane at that spot.
Wow.
I love stuff like that, when they tell you, like, this little thing happened, and that's why we have this.
Yeah.
That's why we have this river.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
good.
at this point, Persephone is kidnapped.
Okay.
Demeter rushes back to where she had left her daughter and found only the Cyane River there with the other nymphs just crying. She was super worried, so she asked where Persephone was, but nobody could tell her anything. And she flipped out. She was so furious that none of them protected her that she cursed all the nymphs into becoming heinous. It says heinous women with plumed bodies and scaly feet. And then they were called the Sirens.
Ooh. Wow.
I don't know what plumed bodies means, but
It sounds bad, but it
does sound bad.
Plume makes me think of feathers, so I
Right.
don't understand it. But yes, it sounds bad.
and then they became Sirens.
Wow.
It was
So
only
interesting.
the river Cyane who helped her by washing over Persephone's belt, indicating that something gravely wrong had happened.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So even after that nymph
Turned
melted
into a
a pool
fucking
of tears,
river. She's
still
helped.
helping.
Wow.
Demeter went mad and hunted for her daughter everywhere. The myth says she even disguised herself as an aged lady with lighted torches in her hands, roaming the earth for 9 long days and 9 long nights.
That happens everywhere. I've seen that in so many different types of mythologies where someone disguises themselves as an old person.
Yeah, the one
That shit
before.
is crazy.
The Morrigan does it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens
people
in
inherently trust old ladies.
well, also old people in general, because like in the last thing that I brought up, the whole Norse mythology, the reason that we know about that is because somebody disguised themselves as an old man and went to Yggdrasil or something like that, found Odin, and asked him questions, and that's how humans know about the mythology.
Yeah, I know.
It's wild.
Finally, Demeter, while she's like traipsing the earth trying to find Persephone, she runs across Hecate. I feel like no matter how I pronounce that, it's wrong.
Hecate?
Hecate was a deity of magic, witchcraft, spirits, and crossroads. And at the dawn of the 10th day, she had pity at Demeter's dismal condition and asked her to seek help from the all-seeing Helios.
Yeah, Helios.
Helios, the sun god. Helios told Demeter all about how Hades had dragged Persephone into the underworld.
Wow.
So that's how Demeter found out about Persephone.
Yeah.
Persephone's mother begged Hades to allow Persephone to come back to the living world, saying that she was young and she was not supposed to live in the underworld. Hades consulted with Zeus, and they both decided to allow Persephone on Earth for 6 months each year, while the rest of the time she would be in the underworld. So 6 months above, 6 months below.
Right.
Before leaving the underworld, Persephone had been persuaded to eat 4 pomegranate seeds.
I knew pomegranates worked their way into this story somehow. I think
pomegranates
that's so
are
interesting.
often like they represent Persephone. Like I see that a lot.
Pomegranates are so interesting.
In ancient mythology, to eat the fruit of one's captor meant that one would have to return to that captor. So Persephone was doomed to return to the underworld for 4 months of the year. Oh, I'm sorry. So 4 months below, 8 months above. But she was allowed to spend the remaining 2/3 of the year with her mother Demeter. The myth of Hades and Persephone is associated with the coming of winter and spring, which is a really interesting part of this story. When Persephone comes to the earth, it's springtime. When she descends to live with Hades, it's winter. And it says the disappearance and the return of Persephone are occasions of great festivals in were occasions of great festivals in ancient Greece. Among them, the Eleusinian rites, whose secrets were so closely guarded that little is known about them today. Some experts believe the rites or mysteries fostered the idea of a more perfect life after death, and thus helped to lay the groundwork for the coming of Christianity, which upholds the idea of everlasting life. So, wow. I love this story so much. I love that it explains the existence of essentially warm weather versus cold weather. Mm-hmm. Why it's cold, because Persephone is in the underworld.
Oh, yeah.
However. I have read so many
fanfictions
and so many YA novels and modern romance novels where Persephone does fall in love with Hades and chooses to be with him. Yeah. Like, she's not forced to be with him. Like, they actually fall in love, and they're this, like,
it's
dichotomy of, like, this dark... Like, because a lot of stories pitch this idea that Hades is inherently evil because he's the god of the underworld. But, like, he's not evil. Like, someone has to oversee the passing of the living to the dead, like, and then take care of the people in the afterlife.
Right.
Like, someone has to do that, and just because he does that doesn't mean he's evil.
Right, naturally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then she is this goddess of life, of fertility, of spring, and, like, creation. They're, like, opposites attract, kind of, so they're, like, this just perfect love story that I just love it so much, and I choose to believe that they were happy together, and they loved each other, and he didn't kidnap her, and it was great. And everyone lived happily ever after.
It's definitely better that way, for sure.
It is.
It's so hard with some of these old ancient stuff because it can be so fucking brutal.
I know. I choose not to remember it.
So brutal.
But it's the same way. Like
you
if
look
you
at
read...
like Zeus turning into, was it Zeus? I don't know. Some ancient Greek god turning into a fucking swan and then like raping some. Like it can get crazy.
It's the same way with like if you read the old stories of like Snow White or like Sleeping Beauty or Cinderella, like they're very like vulgar and
Cinderella
violent, and
is
it's like
nuts.
Well, I choose not to remember it that way because that's scary and I don't like it.
The stepsisters are forced by the evil stepmother, to chop off either their toes or their heels to fit into the things, and then I think it could be a different story, but I think it's that one where the evil stepmother is like cursed at the end to wear like iron shoes and is forced to dance forever, and it like her feet become bloody, and it's fucking nuts.
Yeah, no way. I don't like to remember it that way. It's scary. Sorry.
Yeah. I think it's interesting to know.
It is.
But yeah, it's not like my go-to remembrance of that story. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, another African one.
Okay.
So this explains a little bit of how the world came into existence, and then a little bit of why death exists, why people die. Now, this is an amalgamation of a lot of different cultures. So this is just like, it'll say, these people believe this, and this people believe this. This is just an interesting site I found called mythencyclopedia.com. So many myths explain how the world came into existence. The Dogon... And again, I'm going to be pronouncing things wrong the whole time. Bear with me. The Dogon say that twin pairs of creator spirits, or gods called Numo, hatched from a cosmic egg. Other groups also speak of the universe beginning with an egg. People in both southern and northern Africa believe that the world was formed from the body of an enormous snake, sometimes said to span the sky as a rainbow.
I love the idea of a cosmic egg.
I also do. The Fon people of Benin tell of Gu, G-U, so I don't know how else to pronounce that, I'm sorry. Gu, the oldest son of the creator twins, Mawu, moon, and Lisa, sun, probably not pronounced Lisa like that, but who cares? I mean, I care, but you know what I mean. Give me a break. Gu came to Earth in the form of an iron sword and then became a blacksmith. His task was to prepare the world for people. He taught humans how to make tools, which in turn enabled them to grow food and build shelters. The San people, parentheses, Bushmen, of the South say that creation was the work of a spirit named DXUI, Zui, who was alternately a man and many other things, such as a flower, a bird, or a lizard. Now, there are many myths across Africa that tell about how death came into the world. The supreme god meant for humans to be immortal, but through an unlucky mistake, they received death instead of eternal life. I think that
is very unlucky.
Very unlucky, but also so interesting. This idea that it was just luck or a lack of luck that led to this, as opposed to Christianity, where we blame the entire fucking concept of death on Eve. Mm-hmm. That is the reason we die.
Yeah, it's her fault.
Is because of Eve. Mm-hmm. And because she ate an apple that she wasn't supposed to, but was specifically tempted by Satan to eat that apple, but it's all her fault and we all have to punish because of it. Right. And that is why we're all sinners. And I think that is very interesting. Whereas these myths from Africa, it's just bad luck. So anyway, some stories relate that the god told a cautious chameleon to carry the news of eternal life to Earth, but a faster lizard with the news of death arrived first. The Mende people of Sierra Leone say that a toad with the message, "Death has come," overtakes a dog that had the message, "Life has come," because the dogs stopped to eat along the way.
Moral of the story, dogs are fat.
Dogs are fat. They love food. Toads are fast? I don't know. But I thought that was very interesting. And that's some African mythology about why the world began and also why death exists.
Yeah, for sure.
The last thing I wanted to bring up is another Norse mythology kind of thing. Two quick things really quickly. Marvel Cinematic Universe, the MCU, has made it seem as though it's common knowledge that Loki is Thor's brother. That's not true.
They're not brothers?
They're not brothers. If anything, Thor would be a honorary-ish nephew to Loki.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not related in Norse mythology. Loki is Odin's blood brother. Though how that relationship was formed is unknown.
Loki is Odin's brother, not Thor. Okay.
But they're not 100%. They are like stepbrothers. So that part of the MCU is true.
Is Odin in the MCU?
Yeah. He's played by Anthony Hopkins.
Oh.
Yeah, he does a great job. It's very interesting. Yeah.
Is he
It's very good because there's a part where Thor is feeling very down on himself because his hammer gets broken by the evil person Hela, the goddess of death.
the scary lady from Ragnarok?
Yes. And he says like, "Oh, but Dad, my hammer is broken. I don't have Mjolnir anymore." And Anthony Hopkins, Odin, looks right at him and goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. Are you the god of thunder or the god of hammers?" And it was just like, oh, fuck, what a banger.
Wait, who is Anthony Hopkins? Is he a villain from something?
He plays Hannibal Lecter.
Yep, okay, got it.
Very, very good.
I'm on board.
But anyway, so I just wanted to touch on that really quickly, just to bring up the idea that Loki is not fucking Thor's brother. An interesting other point, really quickly, I'll just say, gods are not immortal in Norse mythology. They die sometimes. And, okay, so you're familiar, sort of, with the idea of Ragnarok?
I've seen the trailer.
But are you familiar with the concept of what Ragnarok is?
Not even a little.
Okay. Ragnarok is the end of the world.
Okay. That's their term for the end of the world?
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
So, Loki often aligns himself with the gods of Asgard and often proves himself helpful, although he and his children are the central antagonists of Ragnarok. They're the ones who cause the end of the world, the end times. Loki eventually mates with a female giant named, this is a hard name, Angrboda.
Is she in the MCU?
No, absolutely not. And it stands for She Who Offers Sorrow.
Oh.
Very interesting. And she gives birth, and this is another thing that I think is so interesting about mythology in general, because it happens in Greek mythology. It's not specific to Norse. The idea that, like, two gods who are kind of humanoid-ish will have sex and have babies, and then it'll be like an elephant.
Yes.
And you're like, what?
Yep.
But that's just how it happens.
Yeah.
So, anyway, the female giant and Loki mate gives birth to the wolf Fenrir.
Okay.
The serpent, Jormungandr. The Jotun, Hel. Keeping all three with her in Jotunheim. Odin hears of Loki's children through a prophecy that they will one day cause the gods great trouble and has them taken from their mother. He throws Jormungandr into the sea, sends Hel to the dark realm below the earth as the queen of the dead, and Fenrir is bound to a rock on an island. Loki is also finally imprisoned after he engineers the death of Baldur and insults the gods at one of their feasts. At Ragnarok, Loki and these three, as well as two of his other children, the wolves Skoll and Hati, lead or supply the forces of chaos who battle the gods, resulting in the deaths of Odin, Thor, Tyr, Heimdall, and others.
Why is Fenrir stuck to a rock?
I don't know, he's a wolf guy, and that's how you stick him.
Why'd she have to stick him? Why can't he just live?
Because he's supposed to help cause the end of the world.
From the rock?
He can't do it he can't cause the end of the world from the rock.
Oh, it's to prevent him from doing that.
Yeah.
Got it. I thought she was in favor of.
No. Odin did that.
Got it.
Odin was the one who trapped them all away.
Got it. Okay.
And then the very last thing I just want to go over is... So Ragnarok is the end of the world, where the gods and the heroes of Valhalla fight against the forces of chaos. The 9 realms, figure yourself out. The 9 realms...
So sorry.
The 9 realms are destroyed by fire and flood. Now, a little known detail of the final battle, remember that Hel is sent to the underworld to become the queen of the dead. Mm-hmm. Concerns a ship called Naglfar. Naglfar. Mm-hmm. Naglfar, which will carry an army of the dead provided by Hel to the battlefield to face the gods.
Okay.
Naglfar is made entirely from the unclipped fingernails of the dead.
That's disgusting.
It's disgusting. The ship will not be able to sail until it is completed, and can only be completed by harvesting the nails of the dead. This aspect of the story encouraged careful personal hygiene, which the Vikings were famous for, contrary to their popular depiction as dirty or unkempt, in that one would keep one's nails short and well cared for to stave off the completion of this ship, and so that the arrival of the end of days would be pushed back. So it's an explanation. It's like,
wow.
It's like a warning story for, hey, listen, yeah, you know, the queen of the dead wants to build this ship of fucking fingernails.
So you better cut that fucking toenail.
Better cut your fucking fingernails and toenails and shit like that, because otherwise she's going to be able to create her ship, and then end of dies. End of dies. End of dies.
Wow, that's really interesting. Side note, I saw a clip recently, I think from the show Vikings. Have you ever seen / heard of
clips?
Okay. Have you seen the Hunger Games?
Yeah.
Okay. The guy who plays the boy from District 1, I believe. He's like very strong.
Boy. Yeah.
And they think he's like tough guy, like he's gonna like beat everyone. Mm-hmm. He plays like one of the in the clip that I watched, it looks like he plays one of the like lead Viking people. He sits on a big chair in front of the rest of the people. And I saw this clip where there's someone like in shackles who gets brought before him.
Okay.
And he's like,
are you sure it's not District 2?
Maybe. Can you show me a photo? Do you have a photo? Please hold. We're trying to establish whether or not we have the right actor. Yes, him.
District 2.
Okay, District 2. So
yeah, he's also in I still don't know the actor's name. I just typed in, dude, fucking, his name is Kato. I don't know.
Yeah, Kato from Hunger Games. I'm finding
Alexander Ludwig.
Okay.
He's also in other movies. Fuck.
He sure is.
Lone Survivor.
Okay. I've never seen that movie.
It's a powerful ass movie, man.
Okay, so
it's all based on a real story. That movie is hard to watch.
So he's in this Viking show. Mm-hmm. I don't even know if it's a show called Vikings. He's in a show where he's a Viking.
I think it is.
Where he sits on the big seat, and then someone in shackles gets brought before him. And in the clip I saw, he's like, "My brother I don't even think you know why you were brought here today. And the guy's like, his head's down, his hair's all in his face, and he's like, because I killed Mary, whatever her name is. Like, I killed somebody, a woman's name.
Mary.
And he's like,
I killed that bitch.
He's like, I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
He's like, Mary.
And he's like, I killed Mary, your mother. I killed your mother. And
Mother Mary.
He's I didn't mean that. I didn't mean for that to happen. But he starts yelling, and he's like,
God, that's funny.
He's like, yeah, you killed my fucking mother. You're not even fit to kiss her shoes. And he starts like screaming, and he's spitting all over the place, and he looks so angry. The acting is really good. It makes me want to watch that show a little bit.
Yeah, I've heard really good things. My buddy Goose.
If you've watched that show, write in and tell me if it's worth watching.
But yeah, let us know if it's worth it. But in other news, we're gonna wrap this shit up.
Yeah.
Last episode was very, very long. Let's keep this one at least under an hour and a half.
Yeah. If you have any other like stories from mythology that you think are interesting, write them in. I'd love to read them. If you have any questions, write them in. I'd love to answer or give advice. I'm not the person to give advice, but I will give you advice.
We will give you advice. Ask us questions about your personal life and tell us all your secrets, and we'll let you know what's what.
I'll tell you what to do. Oh my God, the other day at the pharmacy, this woman was like, I was like, you can't have this medicine because
you suck.
Your insurance doesn't. Your insurance told you can't go to Walgreens. Yeah. And she was like, but I need it. And I was like, I know, but your insurance told you that you can't go to Walgreens. You have to go to Rite Aid or CVS. She was like, I can't think. I don't know what to do. Tell me what to do. I was like, I can't tell you what to do. Your insurance says you can't come to Walgreens. I can tell you what not to do.
Don't come here.
And I was like, you can go to CVS, you can go to Walgreens, you can do mail order, you can do, and she was like, I can't think, it's too foggy. Just tell me what to do. And I was like,
go to Rite Aid.
Tune into the next episode of Hessie and Maven.
Hell yeah. That's what you told her? Hell yeah, dude. Anyway, thanks, Die Young, for the intro and outro song every week. We really appreciate that and your non-copyright fucking music. And then, we got an email address, hessieandmaven@gmail.com. We got a TikTok now. Definitely check that shit out.
Hessie and Maven.
Hessie and Maven. Some funny stuff on there. I just posted one, what is September 21st. It's probably way long ago.
About, do you remember?
Okay, I tell a really funny story about how I pooped my pants one time. And, it's funny now. At the time, it was traumatizing for sure. But anyway, Raven still eating Fritos. We also have Raven, stop chewing into the thing. Stop chewing into the thing. That's not as cute as you think it is. And then we also have an Instagram, Hessie and Maven. And then just tune in next time where we talk about something else.
Bye.